Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this week's edition of Roundabout Sports presented by Interstate 70 Sports Media, where our passion is our profession. My name is Jeremy Karp. Thank you so much for tuning in wherever you may be listening to on Spotify, Anchor, Broadcast, on Breaker, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, on our YouTube channel, so many more places. So thank you all so much. We got a great show for you tonight. And this is going to be a very busy evening because as we speak, there are going to be 3 game 7s going on over the course of the evening, all in which are in the NHL. You have currently the Tampa Bay Lightning facing off against the Toronto Maple Leafs in their game 7, where the Lightning are up 1-0. The Carolina Hurricanes have eliminated the Boston Bruins in their game 7, defeating the Bruins 3-2. Hallelujah. And as a St. Louis fan, I can tell you right now, I am so happy about that. And later on tonight, probably following the conclusion of our show, the Los Angeles Kings will head up to Edmonton to face off against the Edmonton Oilers in their game 7. So we got ourselves quite a lineup as far as the Stanley Cup playoffs go. And on top of that, the St. Louis Blues have advanced to round 2 after putting an absolute beatdown on the Minnesota Wild just on Thursday night. And they will be going up against the Colorado Avalanche in just a couple of days. And it is going to be it's a revenge tour for the Blues, in my opinion. You know, the Blues are 1-2 this year against the Avalanche. And on top of that, last year, the Avalanche swept the Blues right out of the postseason. So obviously, that's not something that Blues fans really want to have to relive. And considering, in my personal opinion, as I said on this past Wednesday's edition of Roundabout Sports, I had said that the Avalanche, in my opinion, are among the top 2 teams in the National Hockey League. And on top of that, are, in my opinion, the best team in the Western Conference. So I would love nothing more than to see the Blues just absolutely take the Avalanche out of the equation. Also, we do have a game 7 that'll be coming up, I believe tomorrow, where the Calgary Flames will be facing off against the Dallas Stars. It was a 4-2 victory for Dallas last night. And because of that, we're back at game 7 yet again with another game 7 series. Also, at 7:10 Central Time this evening, the Kansas City Royals will be facing off against the Colorado Rockies in Coors Field. And earlier this afternoon, the St. Louis Cardinals shut out the San Francisco Giants 4-0, and the Cardinals, made up for last night's just late game collapse. It was a 3-1 game into the 8th inning, and the bullpen just absolutely blew it, and the Giants pulled away 8-2 at the end of it all. So, with all that said, a couple quick things I also want to touch base on before we have our special guest tonight. For those that don't know, our guest is Nicholas Rousseau. He is a longtime producer and videographer with so many publications, including STL TV, with UMSL, and so many more. You'll find him at St. Louis Rams events, St. Louis Blues events, IndyCar racing, at Cardinals games. He is all over the area when it comes to producing and recording, basically. And he does such a phenomenal job, and I can't wait to talk to him. There's just a couple other quick pieces of news I want to get out there. And it's actually breaking news, and I don't know how to feel about this one. So, in a piece of wrestling news, Ric Flair, who in my opinion is perhaps the greatest wrestler of all time, is reportedly training for a final match. Just one more match, and that's all. And he's 73 years old, so a lot of people, and he had, to me, this is what's upsetting. He had, to me, one of the greatest retirement matches back in 2008. It was against Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 24. It was my friend Evan's favorite match WrestleMania, if not his top 2. I know The Rock and Hulk Hogan, or Hollywood Hulk Hogan, was one of the other two favorites of his. And so to hear Ric Flair come out of retirement, a few years ago he came back and wrestled with TNA, which is now known as Impact Wrestling. Very mixed results, to say the least. So I don't know how I feel about having him come back for one more match. My mom and I had the pleasure of meeting him back in January when the Royal Rumble was in St. Louis, and I'm telling you right now, it is a pleasure to meet him. It really is. I definitely, and I got a chance to thank him for everything, he's done in his career. But at some point, you just got to hang it up. Now, this year, we've already seen Stone Cold Steve Austin return at WrestleMania. We saw Vince McMahon return to the ring at WrestleMania against Pat McAfee. And yeah, I kind of got a bit of a kick out of that. But I don't know. I don't know how to feel about this one, but feel free to let us know what you think about it. So just tell us in the comments, whether it be on our YouTube channel or Facebook groups or Twitter accounts, anywhere on our social media. Just let us know what you think about Ric Flair possibly coming back for one more match. One more announcement to bring, and it's more sad. It's actually sad news. So, WWE legend Virgil, who was a popular star back in the late 80s and early 90s with the WWF at the time, announced that he has stage 2 colon cancer. On his social media, he provided a medical update. He also had revealed that he has suffered from 2 strokes and is dealing with dementia. And so I just want to say our thoughts and prayers are out to Virgil at this time. And so hope for the best, With all of that said, we definitely have a lot to talk about tonight. I've already kind of gone through a lot of it. We're also going to be talking about the Kansas City Chiefs. Their schedule, the NFL schedule, has finally been released for 2022. And there is a lot of marquee matchups on there. And the Kansas City Chiefs definitely have their hands full. In fact, perhaps their biggest one will come in week 4. And if not that one, in week 6. But I'm not going to say this by myself. I'm not going to discuss the schedule by myself. I'm not going to go any further. I know it could be grating just hearing my voice. So, folks, it is my pleasure to introduce our guest for this evening. He is a freelance videographer. He's a producer at Higher Education Channel Television. He's worked with Cinema St. Louis and STL TV. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Roundabout Sports, the one, the only, Nicholas Rousseau.
Thank you for having me. Thanks for
Hey, Nick. How are you, Nicholas?
I'm super.
It's a pleasure having you on. Thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Thanks for having me.
So before we get into the Chiefs schedule, because I know that's going to be one big thing we're going to talk about, before the show, you and I were actually talking a bit about your career. And you were showing me a bunch of the press passes and credentials and media credentials that you actually have. And it's almost started to form a collection of sorts. Mind showing the audience what you got?
I can show a bit, just a bit.
Whew. I was gonna say that's quite the list right there.
You've got Missouri Valley. Of course, you got some blues. You got a couple Whitehawks. Here's the Rams.
Oh my gosh!
Here's Kansas City. Yeah,
all over the place.
Hopefully they keep growing.
I hope so too. That's really awesome here. So my first question for you is, what got you into the media world? What got you into media and journalism?
So when I was younger, like 5th grade, I told myself, hey, I want to do that. And I was watching TV and watching. I started watching the news. Okay,
Okay.
when all my friends were watching cartoons, I was watching the evening news. Yeah, boring, very
Oh
boring.
wow.
I know. What was a fifth grader watching the news for? I just enjoyed it. You know, I love stuff like that. I loved watching Dateline. 60 Minutes is a big favorite. I just watched it and I'm like, someday I want to film the next big thing. Well, the next day, I kept on pursuing my goal, and I just kind of like, I know what I want to be: a camera operator, producer. I want to be that. And then, funny story, for all the sports side that I want to work on, I told myself on Thanksgiving, watching a football game on Fox, I told myself, I want to do that. I want to work in sports, broadcast. I'm finally at that moment that I could say I'm professional. I am very happy. I'm very humbled with my experiences that I've been doing. You said I did my internship at SEO TV, and now I'm working producing at higher educational channel. That's been fun. And now I'm in sports too. And it's each day is another day and then a new venture.
It makes me think back to when I was in about third grade, about 8 years old, and thinking to myself, and I was playing football at the time, but I was kind of having that dream you were having about wanting to get into the field. I used to, whenever after Cleveland Browns games, believe it or not, I would go on Microsoft Word, and back when it was, I think, just Windows XP, and I would be just typing little blurbs, little articles, and I think that showcases how passionate you are when you have this dream for such a long time and you capitalize on it. But as you and I both know, it wasn't and it hasn't been an easy path. It never,
No, it's never
um,
is.
exactly. It never is. I think. I mean, for you, what is one of the biggest roadblocks you had on your journey to where you're at now?
I got a lot of no's. I got told, we'll keep you in mind. We'll keep you in mind. And I'm like, okay, but I still send those emails out saying, hey, I'm interested. I love to help. And I still get the deny saying, we'll keep you in mind. But now whenever I do get work, it builds up the portfolio and people actually look at it and are like, oh my gosh, we should really get him now. We really should get him. He's really at that moment. You still get a couple of people saying, hey, we'll keep you in mind. But, like, do they really? I don't know. But, I keep grinding to do what I do. And every opportunity I work, I know I'm working towards the goal is to be award for HEC. I want to win a TV Emmy. I want to show I could do it. Of course, I climbed that mountain. I have not climbed that mountain, but I'm still climbing today. And whenever I get to the top, I know it's not over because I will say I want it again, and I'll do it again. It'll be hard, but I'll keep doing it and doing it and doing it. It's gonna get paid off sometime or another.
Well, absolutely. And, what's interesting is so you are still a young guy.
Yes, 41.
Yeah. So you still have such a long career ahead of you. Up to this point, what do you consider probably your greatest achievement?
Oh, that's a good question. That is a great question. I have lucky because I did some short films. I directed 2 short films. They've made it to Cinema St. Louis's film festival called the show filmmaker showcase. I didn't make it to the International Film Festival as a director, but I still made it as like a PA or assistant director or something like that. But I still have that goal to make the International Film Festival. But I was still happy to make it to a film festival locally. Only St. Louis artists make is the internet is the filmmakers showcase, and that was fun. My greatest, I think it's whenever I get done with a project, a TV package. I don't have favorite projects. I don't.
Okay.
I feel like with the sports that I work on. I don't have a favorite sporting event that I worked on. I got memorable moments that I worked on because
Right.
I'm so happy that I'm doing what I'm doing because tomorrow I might not be doing it. Like I'm not saying I'm gonna quit, but I'm just saying they might not need my help anymore. But okay, whenever I was at the Blues game and I was working the Blues game, and I was telling myself, plenty of hockey's left. They could still be eliminated,
That's true.
and they
That's a
could
big
still get
part.
eliminated, and
Yeah.
I might not be out of a job. And then I saw the Wild, and I thought they're gonna win the series. I was wrong, but I thought I'm gonna be lucky to have another day to survive and another day to walk on the blue at a Blues game because I'm a utility for TNT, um, and I'm TBS, the big guys, and then on Apple TV for the Royals. But I'm just happy to have a job. I'm just happy to be at the game for free and getting watching a game for free, and I'm getting paid by doing my job. The Warriors game that I walked was pretty funny because I'm a big baseball fan, and it's against the Yankees. I love the Yankees, and I saw Judge and I saw Stanton go deep, and I'm like, okay, cool. I didn't pay any admission. I got it for free. But my point is that it's kind of neat because I'm like, when there was a wing delay and it was called after 8 innings, I'm like, everybody's going home and staying dry. I have to go get wet and do my work. It's cool because I'm like, let's do it. Let's do it. Of course, it's lightning, but it's like, Nick, calm down, do it safely. But it's like, wow, this is fun. This is what I live for.
I mean, there you go. Like you mentioned when you talk about if you're covering a team that's in the playoffs, for example, they get eliminated, your job's done for the season for that team.
Yeah.
I think a good example for me was the St. Louis ambush. I honestly, I'm just going to say this. I have so much fun going to the ambush games at the Family Arena. They are such a blast. This year they made the playoffs. And unfortunately, they did not, make it far. I think they lost both games. They lost the first series, and that was that. That was the season. But and it really makes you cherish the games you're at even more.
Yes.
Um, I'm glad you've had the pleasure of getting to be up close in the spots that you're at. It's something that I've longed for and I'm going to continue to work for because I love doing this. Like, normally the show's on every Wednesday. And then when it's like, oh, wait, we can do it on a different day. Like, sweet, this is fun. Like, it's just when I say our passion is our profession, whenever I introduce the show, and that's what it is on the I-70 Sports Media website. Our passion is our profession. That means not only do we do something, but we love doing it. And at the end of the day, that's the biggest thing. And one thing that you actually have on your social media pages, and I do like how you get to put this out there. You actually have your own IMDb page.
Yep.
That's awesome. So tell what are some of the stuff? Is it the films that you worked on with Cinema that's been shown at Cinema St. Louis? Is that what's been on there or
Yes. Yes.
okay.
And I worked on WWE Evo series.
No kidding.
Yes.
Oh
Evo is
my
called
gosh.
WWE Evo. Actually, my name didn't, so I'm uncredited on that. I'm disappointed, but I'm like, oh man.
Mm.
But it's
I've
still
heard
neat.
great things about that series. That's some for I'm a big wrestling fan, and it's unfortunate I've yet to check that out. But I have heard a lot of great things from my friends about WWE Evil. And for those that don't know, it's basically just talks. It's a kind of a show about a lot of the famous villains
Yes.
in the history of WWE. And honestly, you know, you have your good guys like your Hulk Hogan's, your John Cena's, your Shawn Michaels is a little bit of both. But at the end of the day, it's the bad guys that really do get remembered. It's your Triple H's, it's your
Wayne,
Randy
Wayne,
Orton's.
yep.
It's your,
That's the one I worked on.
yeah, that's Randy Orton, who honestly is this. Whenever even though he's a bad guy, a lot of the time he's beloved in St. Louis. At the Royal Rumble this year, he got the biggest ovation, and the crowd was definitely pissed off when he got eliminated, especially under the circumstances that he did. But that's great. That really is. And hats off to you for all the work you've put in and the fact that you don't intend on quitting anytime soon.
I don't know when I'm going to quit. To tell you the truth, I don't know. I
Well,
don't
that's
want to. I know we don't have an NBA team, but I'd love to go to an NBA game and help walk.
yeah.
That and now we don't have football anymore. I got to get my butt somewhere in a football market just for one more game, so I could say I did another game for the NFL. That would be the bucket list to do. And when we get when we get the soccer team, I'll definitely get my butt there to get that one. I really want to get the main sport so I could look back and say I have a good collection of my credentials. Nobody could take those away from me, you know.
Absolutely.
And the only ones you could is if I do something stupid like take a photo during the game, and I know better not to do that. You know, I try not to take photos that will get me in trouble because I know that it could happen.
So, what type of photos would those be that, because
If
there's
you,
always those kind of behind rules that, like, people don't know about right off the bat.
if you take a photo, like, you can't ask for autographs for one for these
Right.
athletes. Who needs autographs, right? We could buy on eBay. If we want an autograph by
Exactly.
somebody, we'll buy it on eBay. Um, so you can't ask for autographs. You can't take a selfie of an athlete. You gotta be respectful to others. So just the general rules, like, and then you can't take pictures like of equipment without, they get really picky about that. Um, just don't do anything stupid.
Is it
Just
more for
act
the
like
sake of the copyright, or is it just, a like more of a moral type thing,
I think it's a moral thing.
which is totally understandable.
Yeah, just act like you've been to a sporting event. If you get a credential, just act like you've been there before. You know, your photos are in your eyes. Yeah, I know you might not have good memories anymore, like people had dementia, like you just said that one Russell. But I got notebooks of all my. I'm gonna have notebooks of every sporting event that I walked, so I could keep track. Just kind of like and writing little notes down, and little stories that I remember that I saw that I want to remember years to come. So, like I said, don't take photos. Don't like if you're gonna do something, act like you've been there, respect everybody, how much you want to be respected, and just do the same. So,
Yeah, I definitely agree, and you know, because it's like being a part of a trusted club because
yeah,
not everybody gets that opportunity,
oh yeah,
and they're very selective on it, and it's never on a personal basis. It's like, hey, we're a sports organization, but at the same time it is a business and we have to conduct ourselves properly.
yes,
um I remember during, like, for example, the many years ago they had the Legends of the Dome game in St. Louis, and I had the pleasure of working that one back when I was working for Arch City Media. And I was on the sideline, and God rest his soul, I was honored to be great friends with Jim Hannafin, with Coach Hannafin. I was honored. But during the game, there was a type of conduct, like I had to stay a certain distance away as far as the sideline goes. Now, once it was halftime, I was able to go over to the sideline part and talk to Jim, as much as I wanted until he started. But it's just those little things, when you know a guy for years and you still can't talk to him, that's because there's like a business code to everything. But yeah, there's just I totally understand, and it's just like it's a thing. It's a matter of trust. It's a matter of morals and a matter of trust, and you don't want to give them a reason not to trust you, because if you negatively affect one team or organization, that reflects on you for everyone else.
Yes.
It's a very reputation-based business, and you don't want to make too many enemies.
No, you don't.
Because it can really backfire.
And then you get to some of us who do go over the line, like ask the tough questions, but they still get, hey, you shouldn't have asked that. Hey, they still get whooped about it because those colleagues know it.
Yeah.
But sometimes, yeah, you gotta ask that tough question. You gotta be the bad guy. But it's still doing a job.
Right. I think one of the best instances though has to be when the Rams announced they were moving. I don't know if you were working that press conference specifically.
No, it wasn't.
But Frank Cusimano from Channel 5, absolutely, and I can't remember the full question off the top of my head, but he basically just burned Stan Kroenke. And, it was basically along the lines of, so how could you basically do this after all the years the Rams fans have given you guys loyalty despite the subpar product? And jaws dropped. And all Silent Stan could do was just laugh. But in the end, he knew, he was like, well, damn, Frank got me on that one. But it's great that, like I said, you still got such a long career ahead of you. It's something that you love doing, and I'm really proud of you, definitely. So,
thank you.
You're welcome. So, what do you say we delve into a little bit of the Kansas City Chiefs?
Okay.
So the first thing, there is something interesting I want to bring up before we go into the schedule release. Now, this does involve the Chiefs as well. So every year, a lot of times what happens is players change numbers. And so here are some of the ones that have been changed. Former Mizzou linebacker and current Chiefs linebacker Nick Bolton, who to me was among the top 5 rookies last year. He's going to wear number 32, which is actually my favorite number, so I'm actually really happy about that. I might actually get his jersey. Linebacker Leo Chanel will wear number 54, and Josh Gordon will be wearing number 12. So here's my question for you. That somebody had commented on our Facebook page about this, and I definitely strayed away on this one. The team should let anyone who bought a Bolton jersey last year exchange it for a new one. So here's my question. If you buy a jersey of a player and then the very next year they change the jersey number, do you feel that you should be reimbursed?
Yeah. You gave the money. You gave the money to the player. How much they made the cut of the jersey? But yeah.
Okay. I don't think there's a right or wrong in the equation. I mean, I could see it from both sides. I feel like especially considering you go on a team website, the jerseys can range anywhere from $80 to $190.
Yeah.
If not more. So I could understand why one would feel slighted and a little bit frustrated if here's a jersey of a guy that I just bought and now he's got a whole new number. Think of if Patrick Mahomes, just for the sake of the argument, changed his number to like number 17 next year. I know Hardman wears number 17, but say he switched to, it's just a chain. Millions of people who have his jersey would definitely be frustrated.
My question is, why do they change numbers anyways? Like Kobe, why did Kobe change numbers?
So for some players, they change numbers because it either it does have a significant personal meaning. Lately, over the past couple seasons, the reason they've changed a lot is because they've gone back to their old college numbers.
Okay.
So it used to be you and I, we were growing up watching football, each set position could have this number through this number.
Yep.
And because for the longest time it wasn't like that, but then they changed it, and so now it's back to where you can have a linebacker who's, I think, for example, on the Cleveland Browns, Anthony Walker Jr. was wearing number 4. But when we were growing up, linebackers were maybe number 54 or 48 or something. Like they'd be in the 40s to 50s, not 4. So, and obviously in the football business of the NFL, it's trivial, but at the same time, it's something, and there's always something. But moving on about the Chiefs. So I mentioned that the schedule was released, and with an 18-week season, there are some definite tough matchups. First off, the AFC West, in my opinion, is the toughest it's been in a long time. From top to bottom, this division, even the Raiders, and I don't even like the Raiders. Can't stand them. But they actually have had a much better offseason than people give them credit for. We all know the Broncos have had a phenomenal offseason. The Chiefs have had a really solid offseason, bringing back a lot of their offensive line. I think a big example is when Austin Ryder got released or waived, and then he came back. And boosting up the receiving group. You get Juju Smith-Schuster, a new environment. Obviously, Juju now has a better quarterback than Big Ben at the position, so I think he can have a very successful season. And the defense as a whole. Yes, you lost Honey Badger, but at the same time, to me, the defense is a lot better of a unit heading into this upcoming season. And for the past few years, the defense has been the weakest. So I want to ask you, before we get into kind of some of the key games, where do you feel the Chiefs fit in this fold of the AFC West?
That's a tough question. That is. I hope they win the division. Those window could be closing soon because you got upcoming Las Vegas on those heels. The Broncos might be a surprise though because now they got Wilson. So I don't think Chargers were good last year. So it might be clear close. They might win. They might win the division by. I don't know. If they win, it'll be great. But I can see them getting a wild card spot. They might lose it. They might lose the division against the Vegas.
Well, see, here's the first 3 games of the season. You had the Arizona Cardinals, who right now there's so much issues within the locker room, and add in the fact that DeAndre Hopkins is out for the first 6 weeks because of his failed PED test. Then week 2, you got the Chargers, and I believe that is a home game. So yeah, they'll be facing Los Angeles in Kansas City, and that's a Thursday night game. Then you got the Colts, who have a top 5 running back in Jonathan Taylor, and less of a mess, I'd like to think, at the quarterback position, because Carson Wentz, I just don't think is a guy that can get the job done. Then this is where, to me, and I really want your thought on this, you have perhaps one of the hardest 3-week stretches of any team in the National Football League. Week 4, you got Thursday night at Tampa. Week 5, you got Monday night, or I'm sorry, no. So week 4, it's Sunday night at Tampa. So it's Sunday night football at Tampa. Then you got Monday night football in week 5 against the Raiders in Kansas City. And then after that, you face the Buffalo Bills at home on a Sunday late afternoon game.
Yeah, that's tough. That's tough.
That is and then you got the Niners in week 7, and then you got your week 8 bye week. But just looking at those 4 games, that stretch right there, if you don't go at least 2-2, that will really set you back, because up to that point, you will have not you've yet to face the Broncos. So heading into week 8, you will have yet to face the Broncos at all, and you will only face the Chargers and Raiders once apiece. So that right there puts you in a tight spot to where if you're trailing back in the division and you haven't faced your divisional opponents yet, you're definitely in a tough spot. So honestly, what do you think of that 4-week stretch from Tampa Bay, Vegas, Buffalo, San Francisco? How do you see the Chiefs faring?
1-2 punch. 1-2 punch. They can't fall apart, like you said. They need to make sure they even make it close, because Buffalo last year in the playoffs bounced back, boom, boom, ping pong,
Yeah.
and then you get the Raiders, ooh. And then with Tampa, with Brady, if Brady has a good year, like he should, yeah, he's not the MVP, but Brady still hasn't shown his old man. He still has the youth, So I hope, because I think it was Thursday night that we wanted good games, and they really wasn't good games on prime time last year. I always hope the primetime games are actually money worth, not just a shootout. So
Yeah.
no,
I think the biggest one is definitely going to be the Buffalo game. Out of those
yeah,
4, okay, say what you want about the Raiders, and I agree, especially with Derek Carr's extension and the upgrades they have made through the draft. And Tampa Bay, Super Bowl rematch from a couple years ago, tough matchup. Tom Brady, the guy could be 55 let alone 45, and I'd still be afraid to have to face him. So, but to me, the Buffalo Bills are still that team that, even though they didn't get to the Super Bowl last year, the Chiefs literally squeaked by them. I'm not going to be on the train about the coin toss crap. I don't think that should be changed. Look, if you're on defense first, then you know what you do? You stop them. That's all there is to it. I don't get the whole coin toss whining. Screw that. But I will say, look at the amount of lead changes within a minute and a half in that game. About 3 different lead changes. And, just drive down, score, and yeah, there was a little bit of luck on the Chiefs' side, but at the same time, Buffalo, Josh Allen torched that defense. Gabriel Davis was the top receiver in that entire game combined with both teams. Gabriel Davis, let's think about that for a second. Not saying he's bad, but in a game in which you have Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill, Stephon Diggs, Emmanuel Sanders, this shows you how dangerous Buffalo is when their third, fourth receiver puts up 4 touchdowns and over 200 yards.
Exactly.
So, and on top of that, like I said, that's a late afternoon game. So you got 2 primetime games and probably, if it wasn't for, I mean, it would be the CBS game of the week. I mean, it would have been Fox's game of the week, but and then you got San Francisco, which is another Super Bowl rematch. And San Francisco's got some good pieces on defense. That's a good battle of the trenches I would be looking out for. So you have your week 8 bye. And then we're going to go to week 9. You got the Titans. Obviously, we don't know who's going to be starting quarterback for Tennessee by week 9. It's either going to be Malik Willis or it's going to be Ryan Tannehill. But what we do know is that the starting running back's most likely going to be Derrick Henry, who, once again, along with guys like Nick Chubb, Dalvin Cook, Jonathan Taylor, among the best. But to me, Derrick Henry is the best. Problem is, they're going to use him too much to where his career is going to end early.
Who's on the Madden cover?
They have not announced it yet, but I'm going to tell you my prediction. To me, there can only be 2 players it can be. And if it's not these 2 players, I'd be actually pretty upset. One, either Aaron Donald, because Aaron Donald has been the most dominant defensive lineman, let alone defensive player, for the past almost decade. And number 2, Aaron Rodgers, the back-to-back MVP.
True.
Now who do you think, Nicholas?
It could be Rodgers. I think it's Henry.
Okay, that's a good one too, definitely.
And then we're going to get the Madden cost. That's why Henry's not going to have a good year.
Oh my God.
I don't know. I'm just predicting. If I'm right,
it could happen. Look, you heard it here first. Folks. Nicholas predicts that Derrick Henry will be on the man cover, and the curse will affect him to have a down year.
I'm just saying.
Whereas I right now am split between the 2 Aarons, Rodgers and Donald. I'm just sick of seeing, and this is just my opinion, I'm also sick of seeing quarterbacks on the damn cover. I really am.
That's why I kind of feel I don't think Rodgers wants it because he doesn't want the course.
Yeah, I could. It was funny. So, for those that don't know, my favorite football team, is the Cleveland Browns. And there was a year back in 2012 when Peyton Hillis was on the cover. And I remember my friends were like, "Why did you vote for Peyton Hillis?" I'm like, "Who said I voted for Peyton Hillis? I voted for Brady. You think I want Peyton Hillis to deal with the curse?" And guess what? He dealt with the curse anyway. Yeah. But no, there's a reason people they intentionally do not vote for players from their favorite teams. Literally, when we could have a whole nother discussion one day about this, but Marshall Faulk, Dante Culpepper, Vince Young, Ray Lewis. Ray Lewis might be one of the few partial exceptions, but even that year he had more of a down year. So, and look at Lamar. I just, if you want a recent history, look at Lamar Jackson. He's been injury riddled, and he's really been defenses have finally started to read him a lot better.
And that's why I think it's going to be Tennessee kid. I'm sorry to make fun of him, but
no, I definitely can see it being Derrick Henry. It'd be nice to see a running back on there again for a change.
It could be. We could all get the Buffalo kid, the Buffalo
Josh Allen.
Josh Allen.
Josh Allen could be.
Yeah.
Josh Allen's definitely one of the best young quarterbacks in the entire NFL.
I'm not trying to give him a cause. I really want the Bills to win the Super Bowl, but
Yeah, Bills are one of my picks. For me, this is how I look at it. I feel like the Super Bowl champ, and then we're going to get back to the schedule, but I feel like the Super Bowl champ's going to come out of the AFC this year. The amount of firepower offensively in the AFC, because so much top talent has gone from the NFC to the AFC.
Yeah.
Literally, there is a gap between Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady, or Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, however you want to say it. There's that gap between those two and everyone else in the NFC, because Russell Wilson's not there anymore. Matt Ryan's not there anymore. You still got Matt Stafford, but he's not the sole reason the Rams won that Super Bowl. The fact Aaron Donald straight up took 3 linemen at once and pushed them into Joe Burrow is one of the big reasons they won that Super Bowl. And I'm a Stafford fan, but, the point stands. So, anyway.
Can I say one more thing about Madden? The Madden
Yeah,
coach?
Go for it.
I really think they should just put John Madden, God bless his soul, but just put Madden back on the cover.
Actually, okay. I can't believe I forgot about that. All right. That was what I had said, my prediction months ago after he did pass away. I said if it was players, it was going to be Donald or Rodgers. But if I'm EA, you have to put Madden on it this year.
One more time.
One more time. I remember the last time he was on it was in Madden 07. They had a special Hall of Fame edition. And John Madden was on the cover. But yeah, you have to put him on Madden 23 just one final time.
What a great guy too.
Probably one of the nicest guys. I'll be honest, I cried when I found out he had passed away because the amount of impact he had on my life with football. I grew up watching games with him and Al Michaels. I even remember a little bit of him and Pat Summerall.
I would know him with Pat, yeah.
Yeah, I remember when he was with Pat Summerall and, of course, Al Michaels and him and, of course, all the Madden games and just all the knowledge. It's heartbreaking just to have to rethink about. But
did you see that documentary?
Yes.
Christmas Day, that was my top of the list. And then when I heard he passed away, I'm like, oh no, that stinks.
That was heartbreaking.
It's hard to get off topic.
No, it's fine. And this is a good time for a quick score update on some things going on while welcome the audience that's still just tuning in for the first time here on Roundabout Sports. I'm with producer and videographer Nicholas Rousseau. Right now, some of the scores going on in the world of sports. In hockey, the Tampa Bay Lightning are up on the Toronto Maple Leafs 2-1 near the end of the second period, and that's a series that's in its 7th game. We had mentioned that the Hurricanes have defeated the Bruins in their series to advance. And tonight, the Kings face off against the Oilers in their Game 7. As far as baseball goes, so we have ourselves Kansas City facing off against the Colorado Rockies. And right now, at the end of the second inning, the Rockies are leading 3-0 over the Royals. So with that, we will continue our coverage of the Kansas City Chiefs 2022 schedule. So we are on week 10, where they are facing the Jacksonville Jaguars in Kansas City. I think unless something happens, there is no reason Kansas City should lose this game.
Cakewalk.
There is no reason Kansas City should lose this game. Jacksonville's gotten some better pieces this offseason, but there's, like you said, cakewalk. There ain't no reason. Then once again, we have ourselves another 4-week stretch where things could get tricky because you have 3 late afternoon games and a Sunday night game. So you're going to be facing the Chargers at Los Angeles, the Rams in Kansas City, the Bengals in Cincinnati, and then on Sunday Night Football, you have the Denver Broncos in Denver. That right there is a lot.
Hopefully they have no problem with playing Cincinnati. But
Cincinnati is, yeah, they're great young team. I
yeah,
think they're also one of the most improved just because of the work they've done on the offensive line. The biggest issue in the beginning of Joe Burrow's career was that he was getting clobbered at the line of scrimmage.
yes, he
He had
was.
no time to throw, and they finally went out and got some key pieces on the offensive line, and they worked more on the draft. They upgraded on defense as well. Cincinnati's definitely one of the teams that's had some of the better offseason this year. And to me, they're probably the favorite. I'm going to put them as the favorites to win the AFC North. And people may be surprised by that because, yes, Cleveland got Deshaun Watson. We don't know how many games in he'll finally start. They're set everywhere else, but it's just figuring out who are you starting week 1? Are you starting Deshaun Watson? Are you starting Baker Mayfield? Or are you starting, Kobe Brissett? And the Steelers quarterback situation's a mess. The Ravens are a solid team, but they still have injury issues. Cincinnati, to me, is the favorite. And they gave Kansas City hell in the AFC title game last year. So, hopefully they can beat Cincinnati. How do you think they'll fare the week before that in week 12 against the Rams?
That's gonna be interesting. Super Bowl champs and in Kansas City. That's gonna be fun. That's they the Rams need to realize that can't be over guessing Chiefs. It might not be as close as that one game that 1 year, 2 years ago. That back and
Right.
forth game. It won't be probably not be a high scoring game, but it might come down to 3 points. I say Kansas City comes away with a victory. Just can't make mistakes. McCombs has to be McCombs.
Yeah.
The Rams just need to don't get the Super Bowl winners always have a good season, but the Super Bowl losers don't. So I'm not worried about Cleveland as much.
Yeah. So that'll be a tough one. I think it's another battle of the trenches, that Chiefs offensive line versus the Rams defensive line.
Yeah.
And then, flash forward a couple weeks, you have, we're going to finish the season. I'm going to just read off the rest of the games because this is where things things have already gotten interesting, but in a span of 4 weeks, you play Denver twice. So you have Denver on the 11th of December. Then you got Houston and Seattle, 2 teams that have just rock bottom.
Pete Carroll will be out.
Houston, just that's another Jaguars game, basically.
Yeah, it should.
And then you got, although I will give them credit for their defensive upgrades over the course of the draft. But offensively, the Texans still, to me, have just too much work to do. Seattle, losing Russell Wilson's huge. Will they trade for Baker? Will Drew Lock be the quarterback for Seattle? We don't know what in the heck is going to happen with these guys.
I think they're going to trade.
You think they're going to trade?
Yeah.
I think they're going to stick with Drew Lock, and then Drew Lock's going to have a game where he's going to probably throw 4 picks, and then they're going to trade. And and I like Drew Lock, but I just don't see him being the quarterback to stick it out a full season.
I do too. I do like him. Mizzou kid. I wish he could get more. Well, I wish Mizzou gets more solid quarterbacks out of the NFL. That would be awesome.
I will say, though, Mizzou has – this is how I like to look at it. People always talk about how Ryan Fitzpatrick is considered the smartest based off the Wonderlic test, and they went to Harvard and everything.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say it. To me, the smartest quarterback in the history of the NFL, Chase Daniel. And I wrote an article about this a while back, but Chase Daniel literally has been in the league about 13 years, made, gosh, so much money, and yet he hasn't thrown for a lot of yards or touchdowns. He's barely in. He won a Super Bowl his rookie year, and he didn't even play.
Yeah. Lucky him.
Like Chase Daniel, definitely. I call him the financial genius. So here we go. So one quick side note again. He's thrown for over 1,600 yards, 8 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions. He's been in the league 13 years.
Better than Tebow.
Yeah, and he's earned $40 million. So for the math whizzes at home, that's about $128,000 per pass attempt and $5 million for each touchdown. So, yeah.
Don't you wish to be a quarterback today?
I just wish to be Chase Daniel quarterback today. That, like, holy crap. Okay, so anyway, week 16, you face Seattle. Probably going to win that one. That's a home game. Then this might actually be the biggest stretch of the season. You host Denver, and then you go to Las Vegas. And we don't know what date exactly the Week 18 game against Vegas is, but it's going to be in Vegas, and I can see that being a Sunday night football game.
Yeah, if both of them are good, they will bump it up to Sunday night or Monday night.
Yeah, and they've really worked on trying to up Monday night. So yeah, I agree they could actually bump it up to Monday night as well. But looking at the schedule, and I see it's a tough call. Obviously, there's that saying, every game's winnable and every game's losable. But the way, for me, I look at it, in an 18-game season, I see the Chiefs winning about 13 games.
I do too.
I could see them going 12-5 or 13-4. The games, I see them losing 2 division games this year, whatever 2 they may be, one against one team. I don't see any team in the division sweeping Kansas City.
I think I see Vegas.
You see Vegas sweeping them?
I see Vegas.
It could happen. Vegas does have their number a lot. So
I'm not trying to disagree with you, but
you can disagree. It's fine. I don't mind at all. No, it's okay. Yeah. So okay, Nicholas has Vegas sweeping Kansas City this year, which would definitely shake things up big time. I have Denver and Vegas each beating them once. I don't think the Chargers have it on defense to beat Kansas City overall. So there's 2 losses right there. Then I see them losing to the Rams. And my last one, I'm really looking at it. It's either Tampa or Buffalo.
Yeah, I was going to say one of those 2 teams.
It's one of those 2 games. And this is what worries me, though. I said Vegas would beat them once. But remember, week 4, 5, and 6, you got Tampa, Vegas, and Buffalo. Yeah. There is a chance the Chiefs could face San Francisco in week 7 on a 3-game losing streak, which would be terrible for the sake of that division. Like, in the AFC West, you do not want to fall behind any. Like, this ain't the NFC East. Like, if you do not have at least 11 wins, you're not making the playoffs if you're in the AFC West. You have to have at least 11 wins, in my opinion, because I think there's a good chance 2 or 3 teams in that division could make the playoffs this year.
Yeah.
And the 4th team, the one that doesn't make it, I'd feel really bad for, because at the end of the day, they'll still probably have a good record. I don't see any of these teams truly struggling, excuse me, to the extent that you would expect of other last place teams. So, like, take into account, your Pittsburgh Steelers, your Houston Texans, the Atlanta Falcons. I mean, these teams that have struggled in last place, I don't see a team in the AFC West struggling like that. Do you?
AFC West, maybe the Chargers, maybe,
Okay.
I don't know.
They'd be probably the closest to it. But even then, Justin Herbert to me is just so overlooked. People
Yeah,
don't
he
realize
is.
how skilled he is.
Yeah, he is
And
really.
and they got, to me, the best dual threat running back in the NFL in Austin Eckler. When he's healthy, he's the best dual threat back. He catches and he runs. Like he to me is like that Marshall Faulk-esque football player who can get it done in both aspects of the game on offense.
Understandable.
So I got him at about 12-5, 13-4. What do you got him at, Nicholas?
I honestly, maybe 9-8. I'm sorry.
Okay. 9-8. Whew.
I know that's well. I know.
Yeah,
10-8. No, not 10-8. But
10-7.
10-7. Yeah, 10
So
and
9 or
7.
8 and 10 or 7 or 10-7 and or 9-8. And I mean, honestly, it could happen. The pieces may not gel together as well as we hope, or at least as
Yeah.
well as I hope. This is to me the most important year of the Chiefs over this whole Patrick Mahomes era, because we know they are Super Bowl caliber. They have won the AFC Championship twice in 3 years. They were literally just a drive away from the Super Bowl again last year. And they have the best quarterback in the NFL, best young quarterback in the NFL, and Patrick Mahomes. I mean,
Nick Holmes and Jake Allen's going to be a great rivalry.
Yeah, Josh Allen and Mahomes. That's going to be the next Brady, Peyton Manning.
Yes, it is.
That's going to be. That was what we grew up on. We grew up on Tom Brady and Peyton Manning when it was the Colts and Patriots always facing each other.
Yes,
and those were great games.
yeah,
those were fun to watch. But this is what I realized. Usually, the Brady's teams would win because the Patriots had the better overall team. I always felt that the Colts had the better offense, but at the end of the day, the Colts did not have that good of a defense.
Yeah.
And so the Patriots, they had Ty Law, Richard Seymour, Teddy Bruschi, Mike Vrabel, Junior Seau. I mean, that team was stacked. So we'll see what happens. And we'll definitely be reflecting a lot on the predictions. Is there any final predictions you have on the Kansas City Chiefs as we're nearing training camp, as the rookies are reporting, as we're at the tail end of the offseason?
Andy Reid is going to retire at the end of the year.
Ooh.
He's going to get one big cheeseburger. That's my bold, man. That's my big prediction.
All right. I'm putting that down because that's a big one. And, it's something that I personally have not thought about. Like, I can tell you have, and I know other people probably have. But I have not thought of that.
Telling you,
So
I just think it's the end of the year. Look at what's his face? He stepped away, the Buccaneers coach.
yeah, Bruce Arians.
Yeah.
We did that was a curveball. I did not expect Bruce Arians to retire, and that was a whole mess. So my big prediction, um, Nick Bolton will be in the talks for the Defensive Player of the Year. That's my prediction when it comes to the Chiefs. He is going to be the future star of the Chiefs defense. I mean, last year alone, and I'm going to quickly double check this. He absolutely, yeah. So last year he had 70 solo he had 112 total tackles. 112 tackles in 16 games, and he started 12 of those games. He recovered a fumble for 86 yards and a touchdown. He deflected 3 passes. He's quick off the ball. He's quick off the snap, and he's a field general. So I feel like Nick Bolton will finally get more recognition that he should have gotten last year and will be in the conversation for Defensive Player of the Year. So yeah, those are good. We got some good predictions right there, Nicholas. I'm telling you. So hang on 1 second. Okay. So with that, we're at the tail end of the interview, but before I let you go, the first thing I want you to do is to give us a plug of your social media so the audience can definitely follow you and all the great work that you put out there.
All right, so I got on my those thoughts. I have Russo Films. That's on That's on Twitter and Instagram. So Russo Films. Funny story. Those are Buffalo Bills. Gregory Russo's defense player.
Yeah.
So it spells the same way. And my dad's name is Gregory, so
Oh
that's
my
my dad.
gosh.
That's my dad. I'm kidding, but yeah, same spelling as that guy and films. So
All right. Well, I definitely just gave everybody make sure to go out there and give a follow to Nicholas. He is definitely one of the hardest working videographers in the business. And oh, go ahead, Nick. I know you got something you wanted to
I was
add.
gonna say, if I do look at NBA game, I'd love to be back and to tell you what's my favorite: baseball, football. I'd love to be back and tell you about my experience about doing that.
Oh, well, I definitely would love to have you back on. And, there's so much more that we have to talk about. But, that's one of the great things about shows is that you always leave the audience wanting more. So definitely for next time, we'll talk about more about some of our favorite moments in sporting events and so much more. So, Nicholas, thank you so much for joining us this evening. It is a great pleasure of mine.
No
And
problem.
you have yourself a wonderful night, okay?
You too.
All right, thank you. Then Nicholas Rousseau for the live on Roundabout Sports this evening. Thank you so much. Have a good night, my friend.
You too.
Thank you. What an outstanding gentleman. I'm very honored to have had him on this evening. And I know he's going to be on again, folks, and there's going to be so much more we're going to have to talk about. Definitely the people I love having on are ones that always have stories. They always have stories, experiences, memories to share, and that's a prime example. With that, I'm going to give one final round of score updates. So right now, starting in the third period, it is 2-1 Tampa Bay Lightning. And as far as the Royals and Rockies go, the Kansas City Royals have tied it. So it is now 3-3 in the bottom of the third. There is a man on first, nobody out for Colorado, but Kansas City has tied the game. So definitely keep track of that on our I-70, excuse me, on our I-70 Sports Media Twitter account, on our Facebook page. You can find mine at right down there, JCarp Sports Fan 1. Also, be sure to follow Talking Dynasty, the Blue Note Fan Report, Cardinals Off the Cuff, Knox's Corner, from our Interstate 70 Sports Media insider, James Knox. Just, we have an amazing team. Andy Cockerill, and Guy Bensing, Parker Benia, and Adam Frex. Everybody in I-70 Sports Media just puts in such great work, and I'm proud to have them all on board with this. And that will about do it for this week's, well, I should say, we've had 2 episodes this week, so this special Saturday night edition of Roundabout Sports, presented by Interstate 70 Sports Media. If you want to be a sponsor, an advertiser, just be sure to send us a DM, and we will definitely talk with you. We support local, and we want to help you as much as possible. Also, as always, at the bottom of the screen right now, we have the National Suicide Prevention Hotline. It is 1-800-273-8255. This is a cause that's very near and dear to me. The line is open 24/7, 365, 366 on a leap year. But just understand that you are never alone, and there is always somebody out there that loves you. I love you, and I'm grateful that you took time out of your evening and day to tune in. And I hope you spread the word, you subscribe, you share, and I hope you enjoyed. Also, mental health awareness is extremely important. It is never selfish to think of yourself. I want to make that perfectly clear. If you have a struggle in life and you need to say to yourself or say to someone like, hey, I need to focus on me, there is nothing wrong with that. I can never stress that enough. Caring about others is very important and crucial and important, but you cannot neglect yourself. So with all that, I just want to thank you so much once again. And as always, just remember, life is a book full of empty pages just waiting to be written in. Make your lives worth reading. This is Jeremy Karp saying